inspiring and uplifting conversations, education, inspiration to really help you succeed better. I'm thrilled to be looking at all women's faces today. And I do believe, and this is all I will say politically, that our world will be a better place when there are more women in leadership roles in all areas, not just business, but politics, equality, life issues. I think women are much more positive than men, and we make up 52% of the population. And so thank you so much for being here with me and lightening up my day. The best way that I have been trying to change the world for women is to encourage women to buy from women first and foremost. And it's a very feminist business model. But if you think about the fact that we don't have pay equality, that we can sometimes do something with the power of our money, which is to put it in the hands, in the bank accounts and the PayPal accounts of other women first and foremost. And so I just hopefully that inspires you to do so. And Women Ties was made so that if you couldn't find a female vendor in your area that was selling the products or services you were looking for, that Women Ties could help you connect with women across the state so that you would do business first and foremost with women. You can always call me if you need to find somebody that sells something that you're looking for. Donna called me, I think it was a couple months ago, about somebody that was looking for I don't know if it was a bank, I think it was a bank in the Saratoga area. And we had or an accountant in the Saratoga area, and we were able to connect her with somebody. So that's it. That's my feminist talk for the day. As we all know, technology is also changing every day, not just the headlines in the newspapers. And I think by now we all understand and realize that our websites are such an important part of how people find us and what they can read about us, instead of handing that old, that pamphlet, a printed pamphlet. Instead, the way that people really find us and learn about us is through websites. So it's really important, since most of us don't have continuing education on technology, to attend programs like this where we can get that kind of information. And if it's something that we really can't do ourselves, then we have wonderful women that we can hire, like Susan Jefferson, who is our presenter today. She owns Tech Creative, Web Design and Consulting, and she's a longtime member of ours from Rochester, and she's presented before in Rochester, but most of you, it's a different topic, and some of you aren't in Rochester, so I think you'll enjoy Susan's presentation. I'm also thankful to Donna Rebus of the New York Women's Business Center for being our sponsor, because we couldn't produce these programs without their sponsorship. And the New York Women's Business Center provides free services to women entrepreneurs in 29 counties across New York State. And she will tell you a little bit more about how they can assist you for free, as she always says, if you need assistance. I'm not going to talk too much longer, but I just wanted to give you a quick timeline for today. So, I'm a 30-year event planner, so I'm pretty good at monitoring and moderating these programs. But we're going to have you introduce yourselves, and that might take from, probably a 30-second introduction would be great. You have the sales contact list to do follow-up. So until about 12:25 or so, and then we're going to turn it over to Susan, who will be presenting her program. And I have questions and answers going to like 1, but we'll stop at 1 to let Donna talk more about herself, unless she wants to do so during her introduction. And then we'll open it up for more questions and answers. No later than 1:20, I'll do a wrap up on the program and make sure that you get out of here by 1:30 to do whatever else you need to do. So that's my promise. That's my promise to you. So with that being said, I will just, I'm just going to go in order of how my list is up here in terms of introducing. So Christy, why don't you unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Christy Anders-Nakano. I'm in Lewis County in the foothills of the Adirondacks. And my company is called Human Factor Leadership. So I'm an executive coach. I work on strategy with organizations to create conditions so people want to do their best work. And I'm just about ready to launch an online course in diversity and inclusion, and particularly for folks who look like us, which is we've had advantages and challenges ourselves, but really looking at what can diversity do and how can we be part of the solution. That's where I am.
Yeah, that's excellent. Very important conversation too, in light of everything that's been happening in the Black Lives Movement. So thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so Jackie, Michael, my friend, you want me to unmute you?
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm kind of excited about the presentation today. I have been a lifelong psychotherapist and executive coach, done a lot of work with women in leadership. But my current mission, kind of like Tracy was saying, for a better world, has been to create a book for parents with the intention really of creating a better future both for children and for the planet. The book is called Hooray for Parenting. It's available on Amazon, and I have had really quite amazing and to me surprising reviews from everyone from parents, grandparents, teachers, business people, including Tracy. And so that's what I'm up to right now, and improving my website is top on my list.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Okay. Next in my list is Kelly LePage, because we've got two Kellys here. So Kelly LePage, you get to go next. We have to unmute you. I'm gonna, let's see, can I? Oh, there you go.
I think, am I there?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Hi. So first off, Tracy, I want to say thank you because, my goodness, I came to a lot of events 7 or 8 years ago,
Yeah.
and I have been off the radar for a long time, just kind of getting by. And I saw this email this morning on a topic that is so top of mind to me right now, and that I'm spinning my wheels over. And it was also a good time to sort of reinforce that I need to get back in with a group like this and with inspiring women, because I've been missing that while I've just been trying to keep my head above water, especially for the last 9 months. So I want to thank you for that outreach and for constantly outreaching, even though I wasn't getting back to you. And I'm very excited to be back in here and to hopefully get to meet some fantastic new women.
Yeah.
Very quick background on me. I own a company called Well Trail. We've been in operation for about 12 years. My background is as a licensed athletic trainer, so orthopedics and health and all that good stuff. And we had grown to over 32 locations in 7 states. And then we lost 90% of that. All of our Midwest clients we lost during COVID as a result of them being forced into dramatic shutdowns. And then my largest client with over 2,500 employees is in Minneapolis, and they have just been destroyed during this. So I'm coming to this with maybe a little different perspective than some, because I've seen the worst of what this has done, both from the COVID and from riots to the people that I've worked with for so long. And I've been fighting for months to keep my employees whole, and finally had to unfortunately make that difficult decision. So I am now here to rebrand, rebuild, come back stronger, and use this as an opportunity to make something that's bigger and better and is going to be able to outreach to even more people. And my website was needing some help. So this is great timing. So thank you to everybody.
To see your name.
I was so happy to see your email. It was just such perfect timing.
Yeah, all the time. I never forget anybody that comes through Women Ties. I really, truly don't. There's just something about, I don't know. It's
well,
just,
I appreciate your persistence. And I mean, there's a lot of things that I followed. It just, this was right. And I feel bad I've been gone for so long, but no more.
That's great. We're glad to have you today.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, let's go with Kim. You're next.
Perfect timing. I had something to say relating to what Kelly said and what you said, that you never forget anybody. I was very proud to say I finished Marathon Woman.
Oh!
I didn't start it, but I finished it, and I've read 3 other books during COVID, and I was at another Zoom call talking about books. So I very proudly told them, never thought I'd be interested in a book about running, because guess what? I don't. Bad joints, not going to happen. My podiatrist said if I want to run, I'll be seeing him on a monthly basis. Can't afford that bill. So, but I truly enjoyed the book, and was very blessed to have met Catherine, and she's a very special lady. So I totally understand your connection to 261 Fearless.
Yeah.
And you know how close to your heart that is, after having met her and her ambition. But back to me, Kim Pandina, Pandaware. I help small to medium-sized businesses manage their cash flow. I do the things that give you a headache. I do the things you don't want to do. I work in the back office. I crunch your numbers. I keep you on a budget. Like I said, I do the things you don't want to do, the things you don't like to do. That's what pays my bills. My passion is my lapidary and jewelry design business. I cut my own stones and then I build and design settings around them. I make small wearable works of art. If you know somebody that has a special occasion coming up, or if you know somebody that needs a pick-me-up, get a hold of me. My contact info is in the chat. Kim Pandina, Pandaware. And thank you, Tracy. I love having people from all over the state. I just had a quick conversation with a friend of mine in the Troy area this morning, and I went to her TEDx Albany last year. And I'm amazed at how TED gets such wonderful topics and how the small TEDs are so amazing. It was so worth the trip.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thanks, Kim, for being here. Okay, so we'll go to Peggy. You're next up there, my friend. Oh, I gotta mute you. Oh, you can't talk, right? Okay, so Peggy is on a computer where she can't speak. The microphone isn't working. But Peggy, if 22 Shades of Grey designs, you can see behind her that she's got beautiful clothing that she designs herself. And because of her last name and then the popularity of the movie 22 Shades of Grey, you can find out more about Peggy. And she is one of our long-lasting Albany members. So reach out to her. And if I forgot anything, Peggy, put it in the chat box. Okay, Renee, you're next.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, Tracy. Thanks for hosting this. And Susan, I'm so glad you're presenting today. So I'm looking forward to that. My name is Renee Nearpass. I am a licensed acupuncturist in Rochester, New York, specifically Fairport. I provide healthcare services based in traditional Chinese medicine. I'm a family practice, and I do specialize in women's health and pediatric care. So I have been open since the end of May, and people want treatment. They're going through a lot of things right now. So I'm happy to be here for them. And in terms of the website, I'm looking to enhance that because I'm starting more of telehealth and education piece to it around different ways to stimulate the acupuncture points, not using needles. So thank you, Susan, again for presenting today. And I look forward to connecting with everybody.
Thanks, Renee. Okay, Kelly Schrank, you're next.
Hi, I'm Kelly Schrank, the head bookworm at Bookworm Editing Services. I bring structure, consistency, and clarity to business and technical documentation and content. I've been a technical writer and editor. I work in information technology to work on SOPs and documentation. I'm also a medical editor and pharma, so I work on a lot of dossiers and slide decks and things like that. And I'm excited to see what Susan has to say about websites. I do have one, but they constantly need work.
Oh so yeah, they really do. And you're located in the Mohawk Valley somewhere, correct?
I'm in Canastota, which is about halfway between Utica and Syracuse.
Yep, great, awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think, Donna, you might be right. I didn't miss anybody else. So Donna, do you want to introduce yourself? And then we'll have Susan speak.
Sure. Good afternoon, ladies. I'm Donna Rebus from the Women's Business Center. We're funded through the Small Business Administration. There's over 115 centers throughout the United States. We cover 29 counties, and Tracy said our services are free. We help you with all your small business needs. Anything you need, we can help you. If I don't have the answer, I have a network that I can go to and find you an answer. And during this pandemic, we've been doing it through email, phone calls, and these Zoom meetings and Zoom trainings are great. Thank you for being one of my partners, Tracy, because without you, I could never reach the number of women that we reach through our collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And I have clothes from Peggy and I have jewelry from Kim. So I miss the face-to-face contact because I haven't spent any money lately.
I know. That's part of what we've always done at our events. I want women to sell. And so, you know, we've always allowed women to bring whatever it is that they want to sell. And Albany was an area that always had so many women that brought different things. But yeah, it's a great way to get women to spend money right on the spot. So that is everybody. So as you can see, I'm excited because we have such a caliber of fantastic women here. So again, thank you for joining us. We're going to turn it over to Susan. I usually do a bio introduction and then I find out that then the speakers do their own bio. So I've decided that all I can say is that Susan is somebody that is highly respected in the Rochester area. She's been in business for about 10 years. She's spoken for Women Ties before, and I'm really thrilled that she's here to share her expertise and knowledge with us about updating our websites. So Susan, I will turn it over to you, my friend.
Great, thanks, Tracy. Thanks for asking me to speak today. Just a little bit of background on me. I am a web designer, developer. As Tracy said, I've been working on my own for more than 10 years now. And most of my clients are women, and I really enjoy working with women. I am a full service web company. In addition to website design and development, I also work with my clients on copywriting because I think that is so very important. Photography, hosting, domain names, and those things we're going to talk about today. I also manage all aspects of my clients' websites. In fact, if my clients do ever need their password for their accounts, they usually call me. So today I'm going to talk about how very important it is for you to know your passwords and your login information for your own business website. So the way I've structured the presentation, I'm going to share my screen in a second here. I'm going to talk about domain name registration first, and then I thought we'd do a little break for questions while it's still fresh in your mind, and then we'll talk about hosting, and then we'll do the same after that. So let me get my screen here. Okay, everybody see? All right, so today I'm going to talk you through some of the things that are really important in terms of when it comes time to make changes to your website. So one of the things that frequently comes up when clients come to me from another developer or a web company is how to make changes to their website and not knowing how to access it. So today I'm going to take you through some important things that you should know about your website. So when it's time to make changes, you'll have what you need to make the changes yourself or to hire a developer to help you with that. So if you've lost control of your website, you are not alone. Many business owners have this experience and they lose the ability to maintain their website, and they can experience frustration and even financial losses due to things like a webmaster disappearing, or the friend who was helping you with your website got a full-time job, or in the worst case scenario, you have a falling out with a developer or an agency, and they hold your website or domain name hostage and you can't get to it. In a perfect world, every business owner would know where their website lives and how to get to it when the time comes to make changes. And there are 3 things that you should know about your website. You want to know where your domain name is registered. You want to know where your website is hosted. And you want to know where your email is hosted. And in that perfect world, you would have all of your account logins and passwords at your fingertips, right? You all do, I know it. Well, we know it's not a perfect world. And the last thing that is on your mind as a business owner is keeping track of your website in addition to wearing all the other hats associated with running your business. And you may be asking, what's a domain registrar or a hosting plan anyway? So we're going to answer those questions today. What is domain registration? If you have a website, you have a domain name, right? It usually has a .com extension, but it can have a different extension too. So the .com domain was initially established for business websites or websites that were wanting to make money online. And .org was established for not-for-profit companies. .edu was for the purpose of organizations with a focus on education. And there are many other domain extensions, but typically .com is preferred for businesses. How does it work? When you register a domain name, you purchase the right to use the domain name to link to your website. When a domain name is registered, no one else in the entire world can purchase the same domain name. There are many companies that are domain registrars, and I've listed just a few of them here. There are many, many others. The way it works is that you pay a yearly fee to the registrar to retain the right to use the domain name. If someone should ask you where your domain name is registered, it could be with one of these companies or one of the many other domain name registrars that exist. You might be wondering how the world keeps track of all of the registered domain names and who has registered them. There is a database, a huge database called the Who Is database. And all of the registered domain names, including the contact information for the individual or the company that registered them, is contained in there. And that brings us back to you. Why should you care where your domain name is registered? Well, we're going to talk about that. Here are a couple of reasons why you should care. Keeping your account with your registrar current. That is so important. And I mean, your contact information should be up to date, your email address, your credit card information. And it's important so that your domain is renewed regularly. So I mentioned that it's a yearly fee that you pay. So every year that domain name has to be renewed. If your account has an out-of-date email address or your credit card expires and the registrar can't contact you, the domain name can actually be lost, meaning that your domain name could be purchased by someone else. So what you want to avoid is a scenario where a developer or a friend registers the domain name in their own personal account. If you should have a falling out or you want to work with someone else, the domain name can be held hostage is the way I describe it, meaning that that person won't allow you to take control of your own domain name by moving it to another registrar. And there's really no way to get it back. In the worst case scenario, and I do know someone who had this situation happen, the person had it in their own personal account and wanted an exorbitant fee to let her have it. And she ended up having to purchase a new domain name and potentially, having a loss of business as a result. So that brings us to questions about domain name registration. Anybody have questions that they want to bring up now?
And if anybody does have any questions, you can just unmute yourself. The only comment I would make about this is that there was somebody here in Syracuse who wrote in the newspaper with me, and she had the name of her business as her, her URL, and then somebody, a competitor, added an S to the name of so if it was, Tracy Higginbotham, or say it was, I'm trying not to reveal the person's company name, say it was, women's shoe. The person added an S and got womensshoes.com. And so a lot of stuff was being diverted into her competitor's inbox instead of it coming to her. So I've always felt, and I don't know if this is true, Susan, or not, that you should, when you're buying a domain name, make sure that you're getting plurals, or, how long do you go with having, instead of just having it womensshoes.com, have it womensshoes.biz, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good idea to purchase related domains, just for the sole reason that you described, Tracy. So buying the .biz, buying the .co is a good idea, especially since, we're getting to a point where we're going to run out of domain names, and you have to be very clever in creating your domain name, but you want to make it so that it's somebody can remember it. It's easy for them to remember it. If you have dashes and funky spellings of things, it makes it more difficult for people to find you. So I do recommend that you purchase those related domain names if you can.
I can share a small personal story. People always think, oh, what she just said won't happen to me. Hi, people. Been there, done that. Many years ago, I mistakenly, through a national company, did my domain and my hosting with one company. And when I decided to leave, they tried to hold me hostage, and I found out legally they couldn't. So I found out what I had to do and how I had to threaten them. And I had to give them a deadline, which was before my expiration date. So they couldn't hold me hostage. I was legally allowed to go somewhere else with that domain name. They didn't want me to go because they knew I was taking my hosting. So they tried to hold my domain name hostage. So yes, it happens. She's not kidding, and it's not fun.
Thanks.
Been there, done that. I have it. I'm somewhere else. I'm very happy, but it's very easy to have it happen.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Susan, back to you, my friend.
Okay, we're going to talk about hosting. So in addition to knowing where your domain name is registered, knowing where your website and email are hosted are critical to having control over your business. So if I asked you where your website is hosted or where your email account is hosted, would this be you? I've seen it with a lot of clients. But what I want to do is back up just a little bit and talk about what is a hosting plan? What does it really mean? It sounds complicated, but it's really not. It's a very simple concept. A hosting plan allows you to rent server space to house your website or your email or both. So just like on your computer, you have a hard drive where you store files. A host is just a big computer hard drive that houses thousands or millions of websites and email accounts. Again, there are many companies that host websites and email, and some of those companies also provide domain name registration, and I've showed a few of them here. The way this works is similarly, you pay a yearly fee to the host to store your website or your email on their very large computer hard drives. And if someone should ask you where your website or email is hosted, it could be with one of these companies or the many others that exist. Again, why should you care? Well, it's the same reason basically that you would want to know where your email and your website are hosted, because you want to keep your account with the host current. You want to make sure that your contact information, your email address, your credit card information are all up to date, so that your hosting and your email can be renewed regularly. So if your account has an out-of-date email address that you don't access anymore, and you don't receive the renewal notifications, or if your credit card expires and the hosting company can't contact you, the website can be taken offline, or worse, your website files could be lost for lack of payment. If you wait long enough, they actually remove your site from their servers. And the same scenario is true for email. And I have had clients who have not kept their contact information up to date, or they don't check an old email account that they had connected to their hosting or email account, and they've lost all their emails simply for not keeping their account up to date. What questions do you have about hosting plans?
Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself.
Susan, is Squarespace considered a hosting?
Yes.
That company? Okay, that's what I thought. All right, just double checking on what they were.
Yeah, Squarespace it's a host, and it's also like a builder. It's a drag and drop kind of way for you to create your own website. Those types of services like Wix and Weebly and those types of services, those are what we call shared hosting plans. And there are different types of hosting plans. Shared is the least expensive and the least secure. So if you are hosting on a shared server, your website is on the same server as thousands of other websites. And there's no way to protect your website from any malware or bandwidth issues that another website is causing on the same server. So the speed of your website could be impacted by another website that just happens to be on the same server. So I recommend to my clients something called virtual private server hosting, which I utilize for all my clients. And it's a type of hosting that's, if you think about 3 different options in terms of hosting, you have the shared, which is very inexpensive and very insecure, and a dedicated host, which means you own your own server, which is very expensive and not necessary for most of us. That in-between thing, virtual private server, allows me to have all of my client websites virtually housed in an environment where they cannot be impacted by other websites. That makes sense?
Kelly, did you have a question?
I do. So kind of along those lines, I currently have all of my actual website and all of my domain names are registered through register.com. I think my original website was developed on WordPress, but yes, I kind of, the person who built it is no longer around, never returned any of my information on how on earth I get in there and do stuff. So I had started rebuilding on Wix with the goal of somehow connecting the two. Now that you just said this about Wix, I'm wondering, am I better off than not using them as my host, but just for the building platform, and then tying them back to Register and what I have there? Or am I misunderstanding what you're saying?
They can actually be separate. So you don't have to have your domain registered with the same company that you have your website.
But right now, Register also is what houses the website, the existing one. So I'm rebuilding a new face and new pages and all those things that are not live yet, but that I will need to obviously make go live.
Right, on Wix.
Well, either Wix or Register. I'm paid out on Register for 10 years. It literally just renewed my 10 years. So the original plan was somebody told me you can basically just combine the pages, which is why I'm here, because I'm thinking I was given some not great information on what I needed to do and how I needed to do it. So I have not paid anything to Wix yet. I'm simply doing a build there. But I'm just wondering how that can work.
Yeah, I don't know how you would be able to well, I'm not certain that I'm understanding what you mean by connect, but if you mean by using your domain name that's registered on register.com to point to your website on Wix, that is possible. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe, because Register is also my host for the live website right now is my point. So I'm trying to rebrand my website. I can't take that website down, you know, like I have to keep my website live while I'm doing the rebranding because it's a complete rebrand. And so basically what I was told was that I can build this myself through one of these products and then basically be able to, yeah, I guess that's the point, right? Redirect it to there. But I guess now my question is, am I stuck with Wix then when I'm already paying for the website and the hosting through Register?
Yeah,
Does
there's
that make
no way
sense?
that you can transfer a website from Wix to another host.
Oh boy, so I
And I
just
think you have to
wasted
talk
weeks
to-
of time building a new website there.
I have to talk to you offline and figure out exactly what you're trying to do.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Anybody else? Okay, Susan, I think we're past hosting plans.
All right, so now that you know why it's so important to know where your domain name is and where your website and email are hosted, let's talk about how you can get your website under control if you have lost control. There are some tools that you can use to gain control over those items we're talking about. There are, let's see, I'm going to show you a couple of them. The first is the who is lookup. So we talked about the big database in the sky with all of the domain names that have been registered and who's registered them. So you can actually search this database to find out where your domain name is registered. So you simply go to who.is, that's the domain name, and it brings up this search screen. You put in your domain name and it brings you back some search results. And it shows you a lot of information here, and I've highlighted the things that are most important for us to look at. So you want to look for the registrar, the registrant name, and the registrant organization. So in this example, the domain registrar is Wild West Domains. The contact person is not always so easy to find. Sometimes you'll see a person's name as the registrant, or you may see an organization name. But in this example, the registration is private, which means that when the person registered the domain name, they purchased an additional product called domain privacy. And that hides your details from anybody looking at the database. So in this example, even though we didn't learn who actually registered the domain, we now know the name of the registrar, which is Wild West Domains. And once you have that information, maybe it jogs your memory into remembering when you created your account with Wild West Domains, or better yet, where you recorded that login information and password. If the registrant name is shown, this would most likely be someone that you know who helped you create your website. And you should go to that person to see if you can get account information. If not, you can call your registrar and see if they can help you get access to the account, if you were in fact the person that registered it. There's another tool to help you find out where your website is hosted. So you go to whoishostingthis.com And again, you type in your domain name. And in the best case scenario, the tool tells you exactly who is hosting your website. So in this case, it's a company called DigitalOcean. It's not always that easy. In this case, the hosting provider is not identified. But if you look at the rest of the information that they're providing here, if you look at the name servers, it might give you a clue as to where the site is hosted. So it helps if you are familiar with some of the more popular hosting companies. So in this case, SiteGround is a hosting company. So because the name servers are pointing towards SiteGround, that gives you a clue, and then maybe that'll help you. Remember where you wrote down that login information. But again, if you can't find your credentials and your password for the account, you can call the hosting company and see if they can help you. Finding your email provider is a little trickier, but it's certainly something that you can do, and there is a tool for this as well. On the misc.com/tools website, you put your domain name in here where it says example. Make sure you click on this DNS lookup button, and then you click on the magnifying glass. The search results show you a list of what we call DNS records, and that a DNS record is really just telling you where things are pointing for your website. So it tells you where your host is pointing, and it also tells you where your email is pointing. So in this example, for email, you want to look at the MX records that I have highlighted here. And again, this could give you a clue as to where your email is hosted. So in this example, this email is hosted through Google, and you can see the googlemail.com on the MX record here. If none of those tools work for you to help find your domain registrar and your hosting or email provider, check your bank statement to see if there are any charges that look like they could be domain registration or hosting. You know, look for those words, hosting, domain, website, those kinds of things, to see if you can get the name of a company that could be your provider. So now that you know where your domain name is registered and where your email and your website are hosted, what can you do to get and maintain control? So let's go back to the domain name registrar. Ideally, you want to have your own account with the domain registrar so that you have, or you can delegate access to someone on your behalf. If you have login credentials for an account with the registrar, so in this case, the Wild West Domains, if I have an account with Wild West Domains and I know my customer number and my password, then I am in control of my domain name. I have access to it. I can do things associated with my domain name, my email, and those types of things. If you do not have an account and login credentials, there's still some hope. So the first thing to try to do is to contact the person who helped you set up your website. In the best case scenario, he or she will have your customer account number and your password, although this is unlikely. Although I do provide this service for my customers, most of them don't ever need their login information, but when they do, it is totally in control by them. In another scenario, the webmaster has registered the domain in his or her own personal account, which of course they're not going to give you access to. So it is possible to transfer the domain to another registrar so that you can have your own account with that domain name, but you have to have the cooperation of the person who currently has the domain in their own account. Specifically, there are some tasks that need to happen in order to transfer a domain, and the rules are in place to keep your domain safe so that people can't just willy-nilly move domain names around without their owners knowing or having control. So you need to provide, your domain must be unlocked first of all, and there are some authorization codes that have to be generated and sent to the receiving registrar. And only the person with access to that domain account can get the information. In the worst case scenario where the webmaster is unwilling to cooperate with you to transfer your domain, you won't be able to move the domain name out of the webmaster's account. And potentially you will have to purchase a new domain. But from what Kim said, it sounds like there is a process somewhere that you could go through in order to get that domain back. But as she said, it is you know, something that could take some time. And maybe at the end, Kim, you can run us through what those steps were. Hosting is a similar situation. If the webmaster has the website hosted in his or her own personal account, which they're not going to give you access to, you can move the website to a new host. And again, that is if the person will cooperate with you. You need to ask the webmaster for what we call FTP, Frank Thomas Paul, access to your website, which means providing you with a login and password to access the website files directly so they can be copied and set up on the new host. Email. It's important to know where your email is hosted because in the event you get a new phone or a new device and you want to receive email on that device, you have to know the email server settings. So in order to make that connection, you have to know what server, where your email is hosted so that you can make those connections. So if you know who your hosting provider is, then that puts you one step closer to getting those server settings that you need to connect your device. Tracy, how are we doing on time?
We're doing good on time, and again, want to make sure that women that have some general questions about their websites can ask you those questions too. So
okay, I just have a few more.
Okay.
All right, so once you have the information for your domain registrar and your website and email hosting, record it for future use. Write it down where you keep all your other passwords, or use an app on your phone to keep track of important information and passwords. I use an app called Keeper on my phone, and I found it really useful for keeping track of all those hundreds of accounts that I have for personal and business use as well. And one of the neat things is you can sync it on multiple devices. So if you have a phone and an iPad, you can have the app on both of them. So if you should lose your phone, you still have all those passwords on your iPad. Once you have control over your website, there are a few things that I think are really important to keep your website healthy. So I'm gonna share a couple of those things with you. First of all, there are many things that contribute to the overall health of your website, but website uptime, site speed, and WordPress and plugin updates are three things that I think are really, really important. Having your website down is really a nightmare that any website owner dreads, because it's not always possible to get it back online fast. Sometimes it's something simple, but other times it's hard to troubleshoot. So because of its importance and its impact on your business, uptime monitoring should be a priority. So there are tools that can help you with this. One of the tools that also has a free version is called Freshworks. And Freshworks monitors your URL from 10 locations across the globe. and ensures that if your website goes down, you are alerted within 60 seconds. In 2010, Google announced that site speed would be a new signal that they've introduced into their organic search ranking algorithm, which means that the speed of your website is used to help you rank higher in the search results. So while that alone should be a reason to monitor your website speed, people who are browsing your web pages simply don't have patience. They don't wait around. If your site is slow, they're gonna click somewhere else that gives them a faster response. There is a direct link with low user engagement on your website and slow loading pages. And ideally, your pages will load in under 2 seconds. If you have a WordPress website, keeping your version of the WordPress software and all of your plugins up to date is critical. Plugins are pieces of code that extend the functionality of WordPress, and it adds features to your website such as a contact form or a slideshow or a work portfolio. And those types of functions are not included in the native WordPress app. They are things that you would add onto it. So plugins are simply installed into your WordPress backend, and then they provide you with those features. WordPress and plugin developers often provide updates for their software, and the reason is to patch issues that are discovered. So frequently, vulnerabilities in the software are identified that could open up your website to malicious activity. So keeping both your WordPress and your site plugins up to date lessens the risk and makes your website more secure. So now that you know what you need to take control of your website and how to go about getting the information, I can answer any other questions.
Quick question for you, Susan.
Yep.
Is there a way to sort of get the automatic updates on WordPress and the plugins?
Yes, definitely with WordPress. With plugins, what I do, I actually monitor all my clients' WordPress and plugins so that they don't have to worry about doing that. But there is a setting within WordPress that you can automatically have the WordPress updated. Plugins, there must be. I can't think of where it is at this moment. But with plugins, what I tend to do is, if I'm familiar with the plugin and I know that making an update is most likely not going to cause an issue, I would have it automatically update. But if it's a plugin that has a lot of functionality, for example, say you use WooCommerce for a store on your website, they do offer patches and fixes for that occasionally. But those types of plugins, depending on how many other plugins you have on your site, there could be conflicts between plugins. So I like to, in a test environment, test the updates before I would make it live in my client's environment. So it's something that you really need to stay on top of, but it's also important to understand about the possibility of conflicts between plugins when you're doing updates, because sometimes a plugin update could cause other things on your site to break. So with the hosting that I offer, the virtual private server hosting, I have the benefit of being able to set up a staging environment for each of my clients. So if I see that there's a plugin on their site that it's a lot of functionality, it's not just a simple contact form, and I think there could be issues potentially with an update, I'll make a copy of their site in my staging environment, make the update, do some testing, and then I'll do it in the live environment if everything still works properly.
Who's next with a question? questions on websites in general?
Actually, I was going to ask, how often do you do that kind of updating? Do you check it every day, once a week, once a month?
Well, I have some software that I use to monitor all of my sites. So there are some that I let update automatically, and then I check weekly to make sure any of those outlier plugins that I think might be problematic. I check those weekly and make sure that those get updated as well.
Anybody else? Any website questions at all?
Me again.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say too, Susan, if it's all right, I will email you after this, because I'm thinking what I'm trying to do, I need more than what I can do with everything else I'm also trying to do currently. I am on WordPress. I actually, as we were just talking, I followed some of those steps you were doing, and I did find, I think it's going to be my access into the WordPress. So that's a good thing. So I should be able to get to my original page. So can I go into a site like that and make updates that are not live? So meaning what I have there stays there until I've already done all of this other stuff that I want to change, and then I don't even know what the correct language is. This is how bad I am at it. But I've got a really nice site right now. It's just, it's a little outdated. I need it to have more interface. And we were one of those companies where in everything that was going on with us, we had a health risk assessment site that also had this massive client portal that was built behind it that I paid literally 6 figures to customize. They went under, and they went under. We lost all of our data. We lost our health risk. I mean, we lost everything that our company is based on. So I've quickly had to partner with a new company where I'm having to do all that backup, portal redevelopment, and recustomization. I'm already swamped doing that. And I need this new site to go live so I can promote this new product that we have and try to regain some of, I mean, the story goes on and on, but basically I can't have my site go down as I'm sending out these new materials, but I also need to very quickly get the new information up and running. So is it possible to have both of those things going on at the same time, where I'm building an entirely new site to replace the old one in WordPress? Or is this just something I should just talk to you offline on? Because I don't want to waste other people's time.
No, it's a good question.
Well, there is a way, but it's complicated, really.
Okay. Because I guess, and that's what I figured. I just figured at this point I'm biting off more than I can chew. You know, trying to save some money again. But
yeah, you know, you really essentially need to have a staging environment, and
that's what I thought Wix would be, but you're saying that is not, right?
No, it's not a staging.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so you know, you have your host. You could also purchase another hosting plan and use it as a test environment, but I mean that would be complex.
Right.
Set up and to, you know, move things around from the test site to the live site. But that is a service I do offer my clients that has really served me very well. Okay. You know, your regular website stays live. There's no outage. We're working on developing a new site.
Okay.
I can share the link with my client so you can look at it. We would, you know, make sure everything is working, and then I move it live.
Okay. And like as moving forward, again, I'm going to have this entirely new portal that's being set up by an outside company that will have to merge in. Once you have your website live, can you also be developing new pages to add to that? Like, let's say you have a program you're going to offer for COVID, and that's a temporary thing, but you want to build a page for that. Is it easy enough? Can you build that page and then insert live, or as you're building, if you're doing it without that staging environment, are people seeing what you're building until it's done?
No, you can build an additional page.
Pages, okay.
Okay. You can save it in a draft mode. So you can, in other words, you're not publishing it.
Okay.
You can also publish it, but make sure that it's not included on your menu anywhere. So sometimes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If your menu is set up to automatically add pages to your menu, then it's automatically going to be added. But if you turn that setting off, then you physically have to go to your menu settings and add that page to your menu if you want people to see it.
Okay, makes sense.
Kelly, too, I just wanted to, so for the retreat, which we did for 9 years, I think you came to one of our.
I did. I came to a couple actually.
But that was something my web designer, I didn't know Susan at
Okay.
the time,
Yeah.
she could turn it on and off based on the time of year, because I didn't always want to have the retreat page connected to my website. So I was able to proof what the new year's web retreat
Before
pages
it went live again.
before it went live.
Okay. And I think that's going to be a necessity for me moving forward, just because we are running different programs at different times. And again, we're going to have, and we did before until we lost all of that, but we've got the added thing of different clients have different logins into the portals. And I mean, again, I'm now rebuilding that part from scratch too, but hopefully the other company will be doing most of that. But that's really helpful. I appreciate that. And Susan, I will definitely be reaching out to you if I haven't scared you off already.
Oh, no.
Okay. Kelly Schrank, do you have, looks like you're unmuted. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I mute myself on my headset, so.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to
confusing, I
make
know.
sure you didn't, you weren't unmuted, but it looks like you can not ask a question then, but it looks like Jackie Michael, did you come unmuted for a question?
Yeah, I did. I had to step away for a minute, so I don't know if this was discussed, but I was wondering if you could contribute anything about search engine optimization and keywords in your website.
Yeah, search engine optimization it's really an art all in itself. It's something that you should think about when you're building your website. You should definitely think about keywords. Typically, you would want to optimize each page for one particular keyword phrase. So a 3 to 5 word keyword phrase. And there are guidelines on how many times that word should be used on the page. And it's really something that you need to stay on top of if you are going to do search engine optimization. So, I mean, I do some basic things with my clients, but if you have the need, if you want to do some serious optimizing, I have a woman that I work with that's all she does is search engine optimization. And she would do keyword analysis for you, keyword research, because lots of times, words that you are very familiar with in your particular industry are not words that somebody who needs your service is going to think of to type in the search bar. So doing keyword research really helps you understand how potential clients are searching for services like yours, and also how people are finding your website. So if it's something that you seriously want to think about for your website, I can put you in contact with this young woman who that's all she does. But if you have just some basic needs, I can certainly help you with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can probably take one more question before I have Donna speak, and then we do some wrap up. This is obviously a topic that could go on forever and ever. And I started as a computer science major at SUNY Oswego, and after I think probably my second class, I said, yeah, don't know anything that they're talking about. So I switched over to marketing and PR. And this is one of the topics in business where, we need to reach out to other women entrepreneurs that really have the knowledge and the up-to-date knowledge to be able to help us. So anybody else have another question for her regarding anything on your website? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Can you help me right now in, oh geez, you'd have to, we'll have you think afterwards when we can unmute everybody. I'm going to have Donna speak right now a little bit more. Donna, do you have anything else to say about the New York Women's Business Center and how anything you can provide them regarding the pandemic, economic pause, or any financing or?
No, not really. I think I said everything that I need to say.
Okay.
If you have trouble with funding, give me a call or shoot me an email. Besides that, I think I'm good. Any questions for me?
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Donna regarding their services? No? Okay. You're all in tech mode now, I can tell.
I know.
Yeah. Your brains are like, ooh. Now, after you learn the technology, if you want to be like me, I have to go bike outside in nature in order to be able to process everything, to be able to come back to my business. So it's a good world of tech and non-tech sometimes. Okay. I just want to follow up by saying that again, if you're a member of Women Ties, thank you for being a member. If you're not and you would like to join us, you know, what I try to say is that what makes us different from some of the other organizations is really, I hope, my 25 years of connections and expertise and education. I wrote for the Syracuse Post-Standard for 11 years. If I know a lot of women that do a lot of things in their backstory, so if you need to connect, I'm happy to do that. So if you want to join Women Ties and you're not a member and you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. We do have information on the website about our benefits, but the fact is that I also have a 35 PR tool book that I hand out to our women so that they know how they can utilize our marketing platform to hopefully brand their name and increase their visibility. If you're a member listening right now, October 2nd, which is this Friday from noon to 1, we have a member only meeting, and that's a way for women entrepreneurs in our organization to network a little bit more, talk with each other, and for me to be able to answer any of your questions about the PR benefits and how you can best utilize it, and me to help you. If you like, so that's October 2nd. If you like kayaking, we're really going from websites to kayaking, so it's different here. On October 4th, which is Sunday, there are some of us that are going to meet up on Lake Moran, which is in Hamilton, and do some networking on the water. That's part of our women's athletic network that we haven't been doing a lot of events for because of COVID, but we figure we'll be safe on the water, kind of kayaking far away from each other. So there's information if you want to join us on that. If you are somebody that is interested in activism, from now until the election, I'll be posting information on our Facebook page on the Women's Equality Division with events that are happening around either Syracuse or nationally. I may go to Washington on October 17th to the Women's March. I've been to 4 of them. I just have to see if my health will allow it or not. I'm still trying to make sure that I'm staying as healthy as possible.
When you send out the follow-up to this, to all of us thanking us, can you put a link to all of your pages on Facebook? I went searching for a couple of them and couldn't find them.
Sure, absolutely. They should be in the 35 PR toolbook. If you have a copy, and if not, I'll send you a copy of that, because that's a great way. If I can see any member that's trying to post something on Facebook or Twitter, I try to share it. If there's something personal that you want me to try to announce, you want me to announce to my platform, get a hold of me personally, phone or email, and I'm happy to do that. You know, that's kind of the viral marketing, and it works, but I need to know what to look for. Sometimes, as you know, if you're not scrolling at the right time, you miss some information. Does anybody else have any other questions for me or for Donna or for Susan before we go? Okay, then I'm gonna, can I unmute you all somehow here? Let me see. Ask all to unmute. Mute. Uh-oh. Well, why don't you all unmute yourselves so that we can give a round of applause to our fantastic speaker, Susan Jefferson, who obviously, yes, stayed in computer education.
Right?
I went from computer education to accounting, got the heck out of accounting, went to marketing, stayed in marketing. But Susan did a great job. And again, we can drive ourselves crazy trying to figure things out, or we can hire somebody to help us and save us some time. Can you please also help me thank Donna Rebus for sponsoring this program so that we could get some great information and meet each other. I'm going to encourage you to take a look at that sales contact list that I sent to you and reach out. You've learned a little bit more about the women that are on this call. And so reach out, you know, at least find out more about each other, go to the websites, sell. I'm happy if women are selling and doing sales calls, buy from somebody, share somebody's name with somebody else. We have the power ourselves right here to make a difference in supporting our sister entrepreneurs. So until next time, I certainly appreciate that you're here. If I can help you in business at all, let me know. And remember to buy from women first and foremost. So thank you.
Last but not least, please vote.
Please vote, vote,
Yes.
vote, vote. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tracy.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
you.